Africa podcast. You can also get Channel Africa on satellite PAS10, DSTV audio bouquet 802, and OpenView bouquet channel 628.
Today, we are spotlighting a game changer in the South African property and fintech space, MortgageMarket. In just a few short years, it's become the third largest independent home loan originator in the country. And at the helm is Tim Akinnusi, a seasoned banking executive turned founder who's reimagining how South Africans access home loans, from tech innovation to strategic partnerships with giants like MTN and Easy Equities. MortgageMarket is disrupting the status quo and also empowering everyday South Africans along the way. And joining us now is Tim to tell us a bit more about MortgageMarket. Tim, welcome to The Upside. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be with you on the air.
Tim, talk to us about MortgageMarket. I've said a mouthful. It sounds amazing, but I think it's better that it comes from you. What was the genesis, the inception point for MortgageMarket, and what do you do?
Yeah, so essentially, we're a marketplace for home loans, as our name suggests. We are a platform that enables customers, property developers, estate agents, or institutions who have an interest in home loans to get access to all the top lending banks in the country, and to do that with great design, great ease, and great convenience. So how the business started was I used to, in my former life, I was a banking executive in the home loan space, and I built a piece of technology for one of the banks that essentially enables them to use their website to acquire customers directly straight into the operating environment. And so this was back in 2012. And that was really novel back then because, home loans has always been previously associated with a very complicated product, requiring lots of hand holding. So this idea that somebody could self-originate a home loan directly with the banks was a very novel idea. But we ended up building a channel that was easy to access and easy for consumers to understand it. And that was the genesis of it, because the moment we could make a single application to one bank, then quite frankly, you could make that same single application to a multitude of banks all at the same time, to create that efficiency and empowerment for customers to no longer have to walk into a branch and have to deal with multiple banks and multiple bits of paperwork along the way. But then now they could do that in a very efficient manner in the convenience of their home or on their cell phones, and be able to compare the banks, which would mean that they would ultimately be in a position to get the best price for a long-term product such as a home loan that is typically paid over a 20 to 30-year period. And that was the revolution. And we've been going now for 5 years, and just incredibly grateful to be making the mark that we are doing in the market.
Tim, it sounds very exciting. And you also mentioned the fact that you've held top leadership roles in the big banks. And this must have contributed to shaping your vision for your own business, But if I'm sitting at home and I'm listening to you speak, it just sounds like a great novelty, for me, especially if I don't have the option to walk into a bank, for example. So how did you actually perfect this model? Based on the leadership roles that you've held, how did you shape this so it really makes it easy for me to kind of look at this option as something I could do for myself?
Yeah, it's a good question. I often say to people that corporate gives you two key opportunities as an individual. One, it rewards you with the opportunity to earn an income. So when you work in a corporate, you earn the income. But that's really the short-term opportunity. The long-term hidden opportunity is that it gives you context and an opportunity to build a career and to understand an industry and to understand where the gaps are in the industry and where the challenges that are unmet, either by your corporate or by other industry players. And that vantage point for me was so critical because it gave me the opportunity to see where I could position a business that could move the industry forward. And so without the benefit of a corporate career, I think it would have been very difficult for me to understand the ins and outs of the technology, the commercial opportunity, the product itself, and where the challenges were, both in terms of how banks were struggling to get to customers quicker, and how customers were unable to get banks to understand where they are at that point in time. And so that played a key role, I must say. And I just so happened to have a good relationship with the bank that I worked for, and all the other banks out there that are represented in our platform as lenders.
It is 22 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. We are reinventing home loans with the mortgage market, and we're currently in conversation with Tim Akinnusi, the CEO and the co-founder. We'll continue the conversation right after this.
The Upside, 1 to 4 p.m. Central African time. With Teboholi Kuleni and Mateko Mosito. Only on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Let's get back into our conversation with Tim Akinnusi, the CEO and co-founder of MortgageMarket. They are reinventing, reimagining home loans, making it a bit more accessible. Tim, let's talk about the technology that's driving the mortgage market. Tell us about the technology, because you said that traditional banks struggle to access customers, and customers struggle to see multiple bank offers and where they get approved. Talk to us about the technology that's driving the mortgage market on your platform.
Yeah, so, to explain the technology, I'll have to explain the business model. So the business model that we have today is a mortgage origination business model, right? That's call it the crux of what our service is, the ability for customers to multi-submit applications using a single application form. So what we did was that origination has been around for probably the better part of 20 to 25 years. And it used to be a very broker, or it is today, a very broker-led model, where you need a broker to effectively take application information from you regarding your income, so your pay slip, bank statements, information about the property that you want to buy, and they will go away and effectively go to the banks and try to get you home loan quotes. So we took that model and effectively put that on a digital platform, where we created the opportunity for customers to upload this very same information by themselves. And then we built the platform in a way that it could integrate into all of the banks, which meant that the banks could then pass on live data to us about a customer's credit assessment that they would have done on their application. And so we unpack that information through to customers on their online dashboard in a way that they can understand it, compare apples to apples, and be able to make a decision to accept an offer or appeal an offer. And so that piece of technology was proprietary to us. I designed it, I'm the architect behind it, and our technology teams then built that and integrated that with the banks. So essentially, the banks pay us a fee, and we pay a portion of our fee to customers that use our platform in the form of an amount of 5,000 cash back. And we do that for them self-serving on our platform in a way that they are taking control over their home buying experience. And so instead of the broker benefiting from what the banks will pay, we essentially pay a portion of that back to customers for self-serving. And that's really how the platform works. Alongside that, by the way, is we give customers the opportunity within 2 minutes to understand what their income and credit profile is, for them to be able to shop for a house with confidence. And we do that with a partner called Experian, who are a credit bureau, and they use the same credit information that the banks will use to assess your application. So effectively, somebody can go online and in 2 minutes understand exactly what a bank is likely to give them with a 98% confidence level. And then they can shop for the house that they want and then apply for the home loan to purchase that house. And so those two key pieces of technology are what has enabled us to transform the industry and open it up to as many people as possible to to get access to making their dreams come true when it comes to buying their dream home.
Talk about like a squeaky clean disruptor. Like, I mean, you've literally thought of everything. This is just so impressive. And you clearly have made some very key decisions and were very deliberate about, partnerships and collaborations. I hear some of the partnerships that you mentioned. As I understand it, you've also partnered with MTN and Easy Equities. Talk to us about those particular collaborations and how they work in the specific model and practice.
Yeah, those are very exciting partnerships, and we're very grateful to be able to work with some really big and important brands in the country. So essentially, as a startup, one of your biggest challenges is your cost of acquisition, which is the marketing money that you spend to try to create awareness and acquire customers. So billboards, TV, radio, etc. That could be very expensive. But we took a model that suggested that instead of spend that money up front, we'd rather partner up with corporates that have access to customers that are economically active. And so we were able to white label our entire technology and put it into the ecosystem of Easy Equities, which we call that venture Easy Mortgages. And with MTN, that's called Simple Mortgages. So it's in their ecosystem where their customers can benefit from the convenience of not leaving the MTN ecosystem or the Easy Mortgages ecosystem and be able to apply for that same home loan through that. And our teams on the back end will then support the customers with customer service and, of course, making sure that they get the best deal for their home loans. So the partnership idea was about distribution and scaling. And that's the one thing that we have done quite nicely. That's a novel way of growing our business. We'll do a few more launches with a few more key partners. So really excited about that. And in that way, we've effectively enabled MTN and Easy Equities to, in their own right, benefit from the origination income, as well as serve their clients in a way that gives them more products and more relevance in terms of their own various ecosystems.
It is 30 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. We're currently in conversation with Tim Akinnusi, CEO and co-founder of MortgageMarket. And I tell you what, Tim, what a brilliant way it is that you're running the business in terms of introducing and incorporating collaborations. It's one thing that we often overlook when we're starting businesses, especially small business owners. We don't want to partner up with anyone. We want to do everything ourselves. But I love the fact that through your experiences and your relationships, you've established amazing collaborations to ensure that this platform thrives. And we continue spotlighting a fintech innovator changing the way South Africans buy homes. The platform is called MortgageMarket, and we're currently in conversation with Tim Akinnusi, who is the CEO and co-founder of MortgageMarket. Tim, quick question. Do you have an app? Is there an app in the works? Is that the way forward for this kind of a platform?
Yeah, it's a good question. Folks have often asked us about why we chose the route to be web-based versus an app. Yeah. And the simple answer to that is that people don't buy homes every day. And it's typically a transaction you perform, once every 5 to 7 years. So with all the clutter of apps that we have out there, to simply download an app on a transaction that you're going to do very infrequently, we didn't think it was necessary for us to build an app. However, what we did do was something even better, which is make a web-based platform where anyone doesn't have to download an app. They can simply go onto the internet, go onto mortgagemarket.co.za and create the profile, start uploading their documents, run their pre-approval within 2 minutes. And once they're done, all the information is stored in a secure manner in the cloud, and they can revisit it at any point in time in the future. So yeah, that's why we chose not to go the app route and just simply give people access to it on the internet.
I'm very impressed by the fact that you have very quickly become South Africa's third largest independent home loan originator. and you've only been in existence for 5 years. What do you think was key to getting you there so quickly?
I want to say people have asked me about what makes us different, and it's not just about the technology that we have, which we know is proprietary and innovative. It's not the fact that I come from that space and I understand the opportunities and I have networks within the banking space. But it's a combination of our people, having well-trained service agents, well-trained marketing staff, well-trained technology staff, a good brand, the market being what it is, where there's a big problem to be solved, and we are able to meet that need. And so both our technology, both our brand, both the people that we have, and a market that is ready for a product that we have has been key to our success. And of course, there's a lot more to that. There's investors that have supported us through this journey because we launched our business in COVID. So literally 2 months into COVID, the nation was shut down, and we had gone initially the route of billboards, etc., which meant nothing because we were all indoors at that stage, and we had to make some adjustments.
Yeah.
And so we've been very, very fortunate that we've had good investors, a good product that is in a market that is, needing it, and that's why we've been successful. So yeah.
Tim, talk to us about how the platform is specifically helping those who have been excluded in the market. I mean, amazing that you are able to just submit one application and it will go through a couple of financial institutions, and then you're able to compare. But for those who have been previously excluded from the market, how is this helping them?
That's been one of the biggest residual values that we've seen as our business has unfolded, is that what's happening in the industry is that banks are effectively, call it shutting down their branches and taking away the skill of home loan out of their branches. So that means that folks in smaller towns or remote areas won't have access to the best type of credit to be able to purchase their house. And so our platform is now in a position where we can have access to the entire market because we are online based.
Yeah.
And so folks who are buying houses that are less than R1 million or houses in remote areas can now make an application regardless of whether or not they have a bank that operates in their town. They can still get access to that bank to fund and support their house purchase need. So that is one of the key ways in which we are being inclusive in our market when typically these folks will be excluded from getting the best access to the funding for their property purchase.
Okay, so I mean, you've given us an entire overview. You've literally shared everything with us, including the challenges, and you've been very generous with that information. So I'm listening now, and I'm very interested in giving this a try. Who is the target audience? Because I may be listening and may be afraid that I may not be successful because, before a person goes in to buy a house, they've already come up with all sorts of things in their minds about, their worthiness of going in and doing this thing. And I think particularly for first-time homeowners. So who is the target market exactly?
I think you've just articulated the state of play very nicely. One is that people are often not aware that they can actually afford to buy a place. Right. So there's a lot of people out there today that are currently renting the place that they are living in. And yet, by just having the knowledge of your income and your expenses and your relationship with credit in the past, by having that at the fingertips, you can make a different decision to say, I can actually buy this place that I'm currently renting because I can afford it. So that's why we created the 2-minute pre-approval tool that is free. It doesn't impact your credit score. And it gives you the full breakdown of what you can afford and what the banks are likely to give you as a home loan and what costs associated with that as well. And the ranges of whether or not it's prime minus 50 basis points or prime plus, it gives you those ranges of what your repayments will be. And then with that information, you become a lot more confident about going onto a property portal or visiting a property developer or an estate agent who will then take the time to show you options about the types of homes that you could potentially buy. So giving you that confidence is the first step, right? That knowledge of knowing that you can buy a property for a similar amount to what you're renting for could be a game changer in your life. And so we target first-time home buyers as our primary base. And then, of course, we also look to target investors and second-time home buyers who are looking for a much better experience and a much more simplified experience because essentially they've been through the journey before and now they can undertake a process to get their next house on their own. So whilst we have a preference, we are not exclusive in terms of or exclusionary in terms of the people that could potentially use our platform to get their next purchase.
Oh, I love that. And the fact that property investors can also use the platform to weigh what will be good for their portfolio, expanding their portfolio, growing it. And what I also love, Tim, is the fact that on your website, on the platform, you've got blogs as well, educating people on how to take care of their credit score, how it affects their home buying and their affordability, and so on and so forth, which is absolutely brilliant. Talk to us about any new features and partnerships going into the future for MortgageMarket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned that because in my history in home loans, right, what we've understood is that a well-informed customer, right, is a customer that's likely to understand how to navigate the next 15 to 20 years of repayments of bonds. Because as we all know, life happens. We go through financial upswings and downswings, and you need to know what the implications are and how to navigate those as you're repaying your property back. So we invest a lot in buyer education and exposing customers to what to expect in the homeownership journey. And to that end, what we've done is that we've added new features to our business where we effectively, if customers don't have the funding to be able to pay for the attorney cost, or if there's a shortfall on a deposit, we can actually give them that money and get into a loan relationship with them, and they can pay us back over a more flexible period of time at very good rates that are far better than a personal loan rate. And so with that in mind, if you feel like you're not in a position to afford the attorney cost to cover your property, we can help you with that cost, and you can pay us back over a period of time. We are an NCR registered business, and so we have the ability to lend to you alongside the banks as well. That's going to be a really big feature that we're looking to scale up. It's already been quite successful in helping a lot of customers who had given up on the process because they didn't have the cost. Now they're in a position to get those costs to be able to acquire the property and not abandon the process.
It is 51 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Tim, thank you so much for your time. We'll certainly be paying attention to mortgagemarket.co.za, and who knows, we'll be able to buy our property there and get that 5,000 Rand cash back, which I personally love.
That podcast was courtesy of Channel Africa, the African perspective.